Welcome to the Following Films podcast. I'm Chris Maynard, your host, and today we have a special episode featuring the creative team behind the multi-award-winning film, The Mental State. Joining us are James Camali, Jance Enslin, and Carly Pope. The story of The Mental State centers on Andy, a young man who suspects a dangerous town shooter is on the loose in his hometown. As he uncovers a dark conspiracy, Andy's behaviors become increasingly erratic, leaving his mother, Angela, struggling to find the professional care he needs. But before we dive into our conversation with the filmmakers, I want to take a moment to thank our sponsor, Bookmans. As an independent bookstore, Bookmans believes in the power of storytelling and the magic of the cinematic arts. If you're looking to expand your film, music, or book collection, be sure to visit your nearest Bookmans and discover something truly wonderful. And if you haven't already, please follow the Following Films podcast on Spotify. Your support helps us continue to bring you in-depth conversations with the talented individuals who shape the world of cinema. The Mental State will be released by Gravitas in North America on all VOD platforms on December 19th. Hope you enjoy the show. Thanks. Good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for taking the time to do this. I really appreciate it. I guess the first thing, James, I got to ask you right away, how are we supposed to talk about this film? I feel like I was shocked when I looked at Letterboxd that there's people that think I think this movie is telling you what it is pretty early on. There's an inevitability to it. You don't know exactly where it's going, but I think the themes it's dealing with are readily apparent. But it feels like that's not necessarily everyone's take on this material. I don't want to spoil the movie for anyone, and I don't want to go outside of what your intentions are for people going into this.
Sure. I mean, I think so far I've been comfortable kind of talking about where it goes, not exactly the particular details of the plot,
Sure.
Like the exact moments and scenes too much.
Exactly.
Generally where it goes, because I think that's, it's an important thing to talk about for the film. And, I like talking about it just so people know what our intentions were as the creators behind the project, which was to try to start a conversation, a lot about mental health, teenage mental health, about school shootings, about gun violence, about all that stuff. And to help bring a lot of as much empathy and compassion as we could, to not generalize the topics necessarily, or take this event and generalize how these sort of tragic events might unfold for everyone, but just to give somebody a snapshot of it and help grow that empathy and compassion and conversation around it. So,
well, I think you're very successful in that, where this is a film that doesn't feel like anyone here is a caricature. It doesn't, these feel like fully realized humans that you do have empathy for, that it's not just, pointing a finger at a way that anyone in other films I've seen before, where it's either, there's something that's almost navel gazing to some degree, where it's, this film doesn't do it. So, which is tough when you're dealing with mental illness, when you're dealing with school shootings, when you're dealing with religion and poverty and all these different themes that come up in this film. But I never feel like it's exploitative. I feel like it's an exploration, if that makes sense.
Yeah, totally. I really appreciate that. I mean, I think keeping that balance between that exploitative and exploration balance was really, really hard for as a co-writer. I know for the other writers, even for Josh Adele, who wrote the play, of trying to understand, wanting to show that these events can happen from a hurricane of events, as the term is often used.
Yeah.
And to try to just give as much breadth to each of the sort of facets that might lead to something like this. So I appreciate that you saw that and your comment on it.
Well, I think it's very carefully handled, and it doesn't go unseen, because we've all seen things that handle topics that need to be dealt with in a gentler way, and they're not. And I feel like a lot of that goes down to your casting here, where Jance and Carly, you're both phenomenal in the film. And Jance, when you look at a screenplay like this and you realize this is a tricky role to pull off, where what's being asked of you, this is not something that's necessarily easy. When you read this, if I read this material, I would never have the confidence to say I could pull this off. So you read this and said, okay, this is something I'm willing to do.
Yeah. Well, I really appreciate what you said, first of all, and nice to meet you, Christopher.
You as well.
Yeah, when I first read the script, I was like, no one else is gonna do it. So I have to. That's how I felt, honestly. I was like, nobody's gonna go for it. I don't know. I mean, it was like, it felt like there are certain things that feel like they're written for you. And trust me, I've felt that way about a lot of things that I didn't book. But in this case, it was kind of something where I wanted to, I didn't know if I could do it, but I felt like I wanted to prove something to myself. And I was just like, what are you going to do? Like, not do it? Not give your all performance. Like, I feel like something like that, if you don't fully embrace it, it's going to be embarrassing or like cringe.
No, of course, because I think that's where things can fall off, where you don't fully embrace the material, and then it just never
like play
connects.
Acting. If you're like, oh, like we're in this terrible situation. No.
Yeah. And Carly, your character, when I was worried about you when I first saw this film, because I thought, okay, I know what this is, and I was wrong. And so you pulled off a change of this character and gave a depth to it that I wasn't anticipating. Can you talk a little about how you took on this role and your approach to it?
Oh, bless you. Thanks, Christopher. I appreciate it. And I echo the Jance Enslin. It's thank you for seeing the movie on the level that we intended to have it be seen, and we were hoping to have made a film with the depth and the nuance that doesn't make it caricature, doesn't make it sensationalized or gratuitous in any capacity. And I think I didn't have quite the same amount of confidence as Jance did, thinking that, like, this role was this for me. I think that I really, when I read the script, I didn't think there was any chance at the Angela role being something that I could embody or I could imbue with experience. There were so many aspects to Angela that I had not experienced in my own life that I really just did not think this was a role that I could play. That said, when I was auditioning the role, an enormous amount of feeling sort of grew and welled and came out. And I fell in love with her despite all of her faults. and in spite of her challenges that she had, I saw them as strengths, and I saw her resilience, and I saw her ability to stand up and fight when, quote, the enemies are at the gate. Yeah. And I think that I think that, it's not, it's not an easy read. The play was not an easy read. The source material for it, it's calling on themes that are incredibly prevalent and prescient in our society. And I just felt like James had adapted the play into a screenplay that was so tender and so open and so willing to have a conversation. There was nothing, direct, and nothing that was being forced upon anyone. It was just a portrait of a family in a small town going through what they're going through without the help and the resources to do so. So,
well, it's that thing that, as a parent, that scares the shit out of me. The having a 13-year-old and a 7-year-old, and there's just these different things of, you said the enemy at the gates, and is that enemy within the house itself? Is there something that I don't have the ability to see because I'm blinded by all these other things that I'm not giving the support and help that I need to, or I don't know how to, or I haven't. It's all those things that just are so scary and so unnerving. And I think it handles this in such a appropriate manner.
Yeah. Well, thank you. I can only imagine as a parent that, it's a harrowing thought, and it's a harrowing reality if you're in it, and it's impossible. And that was one of the resources I was using was Sue Klebold's book, who is one of the mothers of one of the Columbine shooters.
Yeah.
Her book, A Mother's Reckoning, was just absolutely gut-wrenching in terms of her realization that she did not know what was going on with her child, and the forgiveness. I remember her saying something like, people were saying, have you ever forgiven your son, or would you ever forgive your son? And she said, my job is to forgive myself. And I really felt that in this character of Angela, is like, I feel like she's on a journey to forgive herself.
Yeah.
In this. So.
Oh man. Yeah. It's, I literally 2 days ago was interviewing, somebody who's making a documentary about the Sandy Hook, massacre. And it's this thing that's so just, it's something that we need to have conversations, and we need to approach this in 1,000 different ways so that we can start to really look at this larger issue with some honesty and without baggage, and just to assess the situation, because it needs to change. And I think films like this are a part of that, where we can create empathy in here, and it's not just a one note character. And I think something like James, there's a line in here where it was, not to give anything away, I don't think this is a spoiler, but there's Jance's character, he's talking about how it's a graphic novel, it's not a comic book. And he brings that up several times. And that was the teenager in me discussing the difference between a movie and a film or cinema and those kinds of things. And it's the pretentious little 16-year-old shit that I was, like, talking about Kurosawa. And it's like, it was so uncomfortable to watch that, because it was a mirror that I was looking at, and I wasn't expecting that. So thank you for allowing those types of moments to exist in this.
Yeah, I think a lot of teenagers, with whatever their liking is, kind of always has that, I think especially with their parents, of like, it's a lot. I think a lot of it is just wanting to be heard properly. Right. And I think, like, it was also in Josh Adele's play, and kind of carrying that, and it's kind of, some of that is a basis to, like, the communication that you're trying to have between a parent and a child. And I just love how well Jance and Carly played both these characters, and playing that communication and the lack of communication and the broken communication between them. And I'm just so blessed that people are watching, that that you pick up on that sort of stuff, and that Carly and Jance just did a fantastic job across the board, portraying these characters.
I could not agree with you more. And could the two of you talk about working together and having these individual roles that carry enough weight, but really the connection between the two of you, if that doesn't work, I feel like that the movie falls apart. So you could have strong performances, but if you two don't work here, this movie just falls apart. So
yeah, that's always a risk, when you're like you said, you can be individually fantastic, but together the chemistry might not be there. But fortunately, I love Carly. And, we got along great in so many different ways. And I think that, I just love working with good actors, because I learn so much about how to do things. And I feel like I learned so much from you, Carly, for sure.
Well, likewise. I mean, it truly was. I think this is a situation of lucking out in so many ways, because it doesn't always happen this way. And you have to fake it to make it in a lot of projects, where you just, you have to portray a relationship on screen that you can't in any way get to off screen. So it really, like this, there was a lot of luck, but also it's a testament to Jance. I felt completely at ease and comfortable with. And again, these are incredibly vulnerable roles, and it's so vital to stay open and able to access, your feelings, your emotions, your, like, all of them, your anger, your humor, your humility, everything. You just have to kind of constantly be fluid in that. And Jance was so wonderful and so like squared off. Like, it's like I just felt immediately like Jance's heart was open to it, and that was so disarming and so wonderful, and it just built from there. And also, like, there are so many ad-libbed improvisational discoveries that Jance found in the process that I was just blown away by, and it was so inspiring. And I just was like, oh, well, this is great. I'm in acting class also, so this is
there were so many times when I felt like, okay, we're about to do this scene where I'm like about to be really mean to you. I prevented myself from doing it, but I wanted to say, like, just so you know, like, I don't actually think that you're terrible,
No, there was a lot of love shared. And I think that's what makes it work, is that there's a genuine love and respect and care for one another. We're very lucky.
It's that weird thing that's this intangible thing that everybody can feel, where we've all seen a romantic comedy where you have two very talented actors, but they're both giving great performances, but it just doesn't connect for whatever that reason is. And sometimes it works and you can just go along with it. And other times you're like, I can't buy into this thing. But that feeling that you're talking about, Jance, that you're not wanting to hurt this person in this moment, I think that comes across, though. I think that you can feel that genuine affection for one another. It's not something you can point to and say there's these two things going on at once. It's just this overall feeling that you have, that there is this, despite what's being said in a moment, you can feel love, empathy, and compassion throughout the whole thing.
Yeah, no, I definitely think that Andy was like, he wanted the best for her too. But it kind of, those concerns faded into the background when his own problems were like, you couldn't see anything else, so.
Yeah, I think they just did a fantastic job of portraying exactly what you just mentioned, Chris, because I think that's something that happens with a parent so many times. There's so many times that you have your parent who, like, could get in your way and you're like, gosh, you're being, especially as a teen, like, you're being so annoying. But also, like, there is that underlying love that is just kind of hard to get rid of between a child and a parent, and a parent and a child. And I think Carly and Jance did that really, really fantastically. And I think some of just as an observer of their relationship on set, I think, and their workings, I think they did a really great job of kind of being in character when it was time to shoot, and then when it wasn't time to shoot, maintaining a really nice, warm relationship. I mean, they're both really funny, really warm people, and I was just lucky to be around them.
Okay, this is going to sound strange, but there's something that's an intangible that I feel in films often. It's a movie can be cynical in its message, but if it's made with cynicism, I think that kills a movie. In the same way that a movie, it can feel like the people that made it were genuinely enjoying themselves and enjoyed one another, despite what the film is itself. And I can feel genuine affection and love in this film in the process from the outside. I don't know how to point to a moment that says this is that thing I'm seeing right now, but it's an overall feeling that you get when you walk away, where it doesn't feel like this is something that is overly labored and torturous. It feels like there was genuine, for lack of a better word, fun in this that was made with heart, if that makes sense.
I mean, it's weird to say that you had fun filming this movie.
Okay.
To someone that's seen it, they're like, okay. But, there was a lot of very fun situations in the film. Yeah. And I think that, just the way that the characters were written, there's a quirkiness to them, especially Andy, at least, that I felt was humorous, and I couldn't shy away from that fact because like Andy's still a kid, you know, and
Yeah.
he wants to enjoy himself in a lot of ways, you know. He's not just this like only this dark, like intensely brooding person. It's like all of those things were like an armor, a facade to like get to the more chill place. That was his goal. He wanted to have fun.
And I think that's also a testament and kind of a mirror with James, who was such a fearless captain, but also someone who is like entirely head and heart master. Like it's both. It's like James is one of the most intelligent people I know, and then also has like the heart and the humor to support all of that in a way that allows us to feel at ease, I think, as well. Like that's for me what I experienced is like when you're shooting a film with this kind of content that is incredibly serious and needs to be taken with seriousness as such, to also be allowed the freedom to take a breath and have a break from that is such a gift. And James was so wonderful in setting that tone, because we knew when we had to put our minds to it, but we also were allowed to like have a reprieve.
James, could you talk a little bit about that? Because that's the idea of making a message movie that is given the audience enough room to have that humanity. I think that comes through humor, and it comes through lightness, and it comes through those moments. Without, I think a lot of films that handle subjects like this, they don't allow for that because I think people are scared that that'll detract from the message of the film, and it ends up coming across like a soapbox, and your film is never that. There's intensity throughout the whole thing that, you know, you let life into it that pulls it out occasionally. You know, you can think of the moment at the amusement park. There's moments in there that are incredibly tense and funny within a split second from one another. And just I think it takes a vote of confidence in the audience to allow for that.
Yeah. Well, first off, thank you, Carly, for saying that. I'm going to actually just leave the conversation because I don't know if I could get that. So, no, I think for me, yeah, this film was, I mean, this story, like it was, I don't know.
Today's episode of the Following Films podcast is brought to you by Bookman's. So the last time I went into Bookman's, I went straight over to the movie section, as I often do. And I was so excited because one of my favorite things that happens when I go in there, I'm looking for a movie and I don't know exactly what I want to see, something I've been meaning to see, and there's a blind spot. And when I saw East of Eden, I was super excited because it's a movie I've been wanting to see for years, but for whatever reason, I've just never gotten around to it. So the film adaptation of John Steinbeck's East of Eden, it's a powerful cinematic achievement. I know I'm not the first person to say this, but it absolutely does justice to the novel's what can only be described as profound themes and the complex characters. It's directed by Kazan and features outstanding performances from the whole cast, but mainly here by James Dean as Cal Trask. The film captures the essence of the book while adding its own visual and emotional dimension. The cinematography, which looks absolutely incredible in 4K, captures the rugged beauty of the California landscape. So it sets the stage for this intense family drama that unfolds throughout the film. And the screenplay manages to condense this complex novel that is East of Eden without feeling truncated. It makes this really intricate plot, takes that and then just condenses it down and really only gets the essential elements of it. And all the themes are still intact with love, jealousy, and the struggle between good and evil. That's all there. And it doesn't feel like a lesser than. It feels like a complement to. If you've read East of Eden and haven't seen the film, definitely catch up on it. Highly recommend it. If you've only seen the film and haven't read the book, definitely check out the book as well. It's worth your time. But in the movie, James Dean's portrayal of the troubled Cal, it's nothing short of iconic. It showcases his raw talent and charisma. The supporting cast is also incredible, especially Julie Harris, I think, does an equally compelling job here with just an outstanding performance. And there's a depth and authenticity to these characters that wasn't very common for this time. So it's something pretty remarkable here. East of Eden, it's absolutely a classic that continues to resonate to this day, still holds up. I think that's mainly because of its exploration of human nature and the complexity of family dynamics. It's a timeless masterpiece that deserves a place in the annals of cinematic history. I think it's there. It just took me a long time to catch up with it. This is a must-watch for anyone who appreciates powerful storytelling and exceptional performances. So remember, next time you go to Bookman's, they have your cool covered. Hope you enjoy the rest of the show.
What prompted me to I know what prompted me to try to make a film and story like this on screen. I just felt like it needed to happen. And there was a lot of times, and even after it comes out, where just constantly questioning what are the right choices around this film, even the release, and even down to interviews like this of, how do we even carry ourselves talking about this film, right? And I think it just always came down for me to remember the intention of this film, and that the intention was always to do the best we could. And you can never be perfect or get it right on the nose, but do the best we could to bring empathy and compassion and communication around these topics, right? That's always been my three pillars. And to also remember that life is life. And so there are moments, my grandmother passed this year, and my uncle got to the funeral home and had to ask, where is my mother? That's kind of funny. It's sad, but it's also funny. And life is filled with a lot of moments that can have really intense, hard moments, but is sometimes cut by something kind of humorous or whatever. And, I hope that came across in moments of the film. And I appreciate that you saw those. But yeah, I mean, the big thing was just trying to keep the intention clear of the film, and just trying to, and I'm so grateful for all of the actors and the collaborators involved that took that intention to heart as well. So that was just the approach I tried to take, is just to keep that intention forward.
Well, I mean, I don't want to mislead people in thinking that this is a laugh out loud, kind of romp for sure. By any means.
Yeah, for sure. But just trying to find moments where we could cut some of the intensity a little bit.
Well, the example you use is the example I always use when I'm talking about something like this, because I've never been to a funeral of someone that I loved, that I cared for, that there weren't moments where we laughed. When you're commiserating, when you're remembering somebody, you're going to find the joy in that, and you're going to be laughing through tears. It's when you are at an arm's length, when you go to a funeral of somebody you barely knew, that you have reverence, and it's a polite distance for it that I think we carry to some degree. And I think that gives it sincerity.
Yeah, I think I left the key detail out of the funeral story. Basically, she was not in the room that we were told she was going to be, for the casket. And so, I just realized, I was like, holy shit, So we were trying to find the room, and, just to be like, where the hell, where could she go? It's just kind of fun anyway.
No, that's great. That is a very key detail. I was making assumptions. Okay, good.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. Yeah.
No, you're fine. Could you talk a little bit about, James, the look of the film? Because this is a really, it's a gorgeous film to look at. It's very cold, but it has these moments of warmth in it that come through. And just talk about the design of this look, because I think it's a very impressive film to watch.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think a lot of that is led by Ronnie Swenton, who's kind of my co-filmmaker. He and I met the first day of film school and have worked on just about everything since. And this being an independent production, he and I were both wearing a lot of hats. But that being said, us being so close as friends, that gave us a lot of lead time going into the film to discuss some of the influences and everything going into it. Winter's Bone was a pretty big like visual influence, right?
Sure.
It's
Yeah,
got a
makes
lot
sense.
of that cold and sort of, overcast feeling to it. And then also Place Beyond the Pines visually was something I really love as
Yeah.
well. And there's 40 other movies I can pull out, but those are two kind of big ones. And then from Ronnie, he takes a lot of influence, as a lot of cinematographers probably should, from Gordon Willis, who cares as much about his shadows as he does his light. And I think for a story like this, that's really important to kind of maintain the tone of the film throughout. And Ronnie did a fantastic job. And then it's a huge credit too to Brian Wolsick, our production designer, who helped design much of the sets and everything, and as well as Gregory Gale, our costume designer, who he was probably one of our more experienced key department heads coming into it. He's a really fantastic costume designer on Broadway, and he really reminded me and pushed me to follow my gut instincts and follow and just really push the creativity level as much as we could. He was really instrumental in that. Seeing someone who as seasoned as he was maintaining that mindset was really important for myself, and I know some of the other younger filmmakers on the project. So,
and also to that point, sorry, I just wanted to say on the Gregory Gale note, like it is such a it's so informative. The clothes that you wear is so informative of your character. Mm. And he was so brilliant in how he devised, I think, everyone's wardrobe. For me anyway, I'll speak personally, but for me, like Angela became a person like a real person when I stepped into the windbreaker or the or the wolf sweater, which actually was a nod to James, but it was still, the sweatpants, like when does an actress get to wear disgusting sweatpants? That doesn't really happen. And I love them. And it, but it's anecdotal, of course, but I'm just saying it's those key people involved in the production that you don't often see or you don't often get to hear about. It's like, they make such a difference. They make such a difference in all of our work.
Well, I'm sorry.
He was just very keen on the details. And, I told him, like, I want to make sure these clothes look lived in and not just movie clothes that we bought for this movie. And he and then the rest of his team, I know Kim Grader was a big help in like distressing the clothes a lot. And so it was testament to Gregory. It's really great.
It's editors, costume designers, composers. When they're doing their job right, their work is invisible most of the time. Sometimes there's work that's designed to call attention to it. If you're watching a period piece, of course you want to have just huge costume stuff. But in a film like this, if it's wrong, though, it stands out.
Yeah.
If everything is fitted too well, if everything feels right off, brand new, even if it's off the rack or anything, it feels wrong. That's not who these people are. But as an actor, like you were saying, I would imagine that's one of those things that really does help you get to where you need to be in those moments that, it does feel lived in. It doesn't feel like you're wearing something perfectly comfortable and it's you.
That's it. And also too, it's like, these people who don't have a lot of money, they don't have a lot of, they are where they are in life, and like having one pair of jeans and one pair of shoes and one jacket made way more sense than what you normally see in a Hollywood film, where it's like everyone's got a different piece of clothing for every moment of the day. And like, it's, so things like that were just, again, down to the details of going like, let's try to, this is a fictional story, but let's try to keep it grounded in reality as much as possible.
I loved that part, what you just said about like the less clothes because they didn't have money, like it made me feel like I was wearing a character outfit, like a cartoon character's outfit, because it was like the same thing all the time.
Yeah.
Or like 3 different things,
It puts like an emphasis on laundry day. Like we wear our clothes until laundry day. That it's like, it's an event. It informs what we're doing with our life and with our, it's all of that stuff. If we get salsa from Angela's takeout restaurant that she works at, we get salsa on our shirt, like you better get it off quick because laundry day is not happening for a week, and that's your one of two t-shirts or whatever.
Yeah, he actually did. It was actually something that he and I discussed getting before we got to set. He did a really great job of kind of desaturating the clothes a bit as the story goes on. So that wasn't something that we were trying to do in post. So he had doubles of things that were a little bit more desaturated as we got further into the story, and as the sort of the brightness of Andy's vision is being taken away and stuff. So,
and then you need the details that had, doubles for blood and other things like that.
Doubles for blood as well. But also there were like desaturated doubles too, which was something that I was just like, wow, this guy is really taking the time to do that. So that helped me try to, push myself and others to go that distance.
So this is a movie about fashion.
No. I can only assume that you have limited resources to make a film like this. How do you do something like this on a budget that looks this incredible, that has these kind of performances in it, that it's just, this doesn't feel, I feel like you're punching above your weight class with this film.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I take that very much as a compliment. And I know the other sort of key filmmakers, myself and Ronnie, and then our producers, Matt Einstein and Glenn Trotner, certainly take that as a compliment. Matt Einstein was a big part in introducing us to Glenn Trotner, the late Glenn Trotner, who was a producer on the film. Glenn had a lot of experience in the film industry as an assistant director, and in his later years was starting to produce independent features like this. And originally we wanted to shoot in Kentucky, but Glenn had a ton of resources up in Syracuse, New York. And I'd spent a ton of time in Kentucky, and then going up to Syracuse, seeing that a lot of the landscapes looked kind of vaguely similar to what I was seeing. As an independent film, you have to take the resources that are presented to you. And we were just so lucky for everything that Glenn brought to the film. I mean, he had so many great crew, just a ton of great crew up there, and then just a lot of great connections to things like the Sylvan Beach amusement park that we got to shoot in, and things like the churches up there, and other locations. So yeah.
Well, it's one of those things that I think it's that kind of invisible work that happens that makes things feel lived in. And, when I've gone to Kentucky because of films like yours and Winter's Bone, when I visited there, when it's not completely this gray landscape and I see these beautiful colors in the fall, like all the trees and everything, I'm shocked at how warm and vibrant the place is. I'm wondering if Kentucky can get a nice lighthearted film for once.
Yeah.
Because it's a pretty warm place from what I've seen for the most part.
It is. And everybody is very friendly.
That's what I meant by warm. Yeah.
Yeah. Everybody is very warm and friendly. I mean, the state itself can be quite warm.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Sounds like a Hallmark movie in Kentucky.
Yeah. Well, that's the next
Is
one.
that next for you guys? Get the band back together, but do something like a Hallmark movie, do something a little bit more lighthearted. You can enjoy spending time with each other, but maybe do something that's a little bit
Hallmark movie on Hawaii.
Yeah, up the ante for sure.
In the summer,
yeah, Hawaiian Christmas Story. Why not?
Yeah, exactly.
So, just out of curiosity, James, what is coming up next on the pike for you? What is going to? Because I'm a greedy American consumer. I want more.
Like a lot of storytellers, I think I have a lot of pots in the stove. I have one project that I've been writing for a while and trying to understand the next step of it, about a grandma in a nursing home, which is another sort of heavy subject matter, but I'm trying to approach it with some lightheartedness and fun throughout it. I have a horror script that I'm trying to get produced for next spring about influencers in the woods, and we'll keep it there. Another hopefully horror comedy situation. And and then I was signed on to direct a project called Somebody Loved, and we're still in the casting process for it. But that's a film written by one of the producers of it about his own life experience trying to figure out his sexual identity in a conservative family after his mother's been diagnosed with Alzheimer's. So
more lighthearted fare coming.
Yeah, I'm pinned for the lighthearted movies. That's my bread and butter, I guess. So yeah.
Jance, what are you going to do after this, man? Is this like, I would have the temptation to just like hang up the Spurs at this point. It's just, you got it. You nailed it, man. It's going to be a letdown after this. How can you possibly follow this up, man?
Well, I really hope it's not going to be a letdown.
No, it's not. No. I'm not being
I actually think that, more people that see this film, it will be good for me. Like if it's kind of like, I guess I'm glad that I did something so intense and dark, like, I guess early on in my career, because, you have a lot of actors who like will start doing like romantic comedies or whatever. And then, like 10 years goes by and they have all these great films, but you don't know, like you've never seen them do something, serious. And so I'm kind of like, let me just like put this on the table so everybody knows. But I would love to honestly do something that's funny, because I don't know if I'm funny, but I think I can be. And I would love to do something where, my character has more of a fun time.
I think that's going to be the case no matter what you do after this. I think that'll be, if that's the bar.
I mean, I literally just got my first audition since May, like a few days ago, like 2 days ago. So
congratulations, man.
Back in the groove of things.
Well, you're the real deal, man. This is an incredible performance. So I'm definitely looking forward to watching your work for years to come. And you can look at somebody like Carly as a roadmap, because she's done a little bit of everything where you've been good consistently throughout your career. So you're one of those people that hasn't yet been pigeonholed. And I think that's a testament to your ability as an actor. So what do you have that you haven't done yet?
That's very kind. Thank you. Very, very kind. I'm a jack of all trades, master of none, I think. And also, Jance, you are damn funny, mate. You're destined you are all of it. I can't wait to see you do comedy though, because it's a relief. And that's what I've always enjoyed is the ability to be malleable and challenge yourself and prove to yourself that you can do it. And it is fun to kind of pendulum swing from one to the other. You do a dark, heavy film like this. In fact, this is a prime example. After we shot this, which was back in 2018.
I didn't realize that. Wow.
But the next year, I did a Hallmark movie, the first and only Hallmark movie I ever did. And the experience from going from this movie to that movie was equally amazing. It was just drastically different. And that was the type of experience that I felt so fortunate to be able to play. But I'm retired now. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know what's next. I had another couple episodes of the Pretty Little Liars summer school. So the next incarnation of that, I have a couple episodes in that coming up when they release it. They're just about to finish the season in a couple days, and hopefully the release date will soon follow. And then, we'll see what's going to happen from there.
Well, congratulations to all of you. This is an incredible film. I think you all should be proud of the work you've done here. And I hope that someday in the future, I can have the three of you together talking about another project down the line, because I think you guys have something special here.
Let's do it. Yeah.
I love it.
Awesome. Thanks. Well, thank you all so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Chris. This was a really fantastic discussion. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. No, this is one of those ones I could do this for hours on this one. This is an important film that manages to be You're the one. You guys are the ones to do a film like this. Because if I were to try material like this, it would be me standing on a soapbox yelling at people for an hour and a half, and nobody wants that. So congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you all very much. Take care. Thank you, Manny. Bye, guys.
Time enough to figure you out. Time enough to write this down. Wish me luck, give me hope. My voice cracked.